Folks, we have a controversial but very necessary conversation to have today. Is the Republican Party really just gatekeeping the slippery slope? Let me explain. Someone on Ron DeSantis' team shared a video doing a political attack on Donald Trump for selling rainbow merch, waving pride flags, and I guess his relationship with Caitlyn Jenner. A lot of people came out and said this is anti-gay, this is hate speech. Gay members of Trump's team like Rick Grenell suggested that you must hate gay people if you don't want to celebrate an entire month being prideful about it. And Greg Kelly from Newsmax called it a desperate attack and said Caitlyn Jenner stands strong against sexualizing kids, is for protecting biological women in sports. Ron is wrong about MAGA if he thinks busting on Caitlyn is cool. Apologize, Ron. Is Ron DeSantis a homophobe? Does he hate gays? If you don't want to celebrate homosexuality for an entire month, are you a hateful person? Should he apologize for this ad? Does anybody even know what they think anymore and why? And is boycotting Bud Light for their trans ad but pushing stuff like this really any different? We're gonna be honest about it, take a close look at it, and see if Greg Kelly's right, because honestly, with 5 minutes of research, I can prove a few things he said wrong. God bless you guys. Show starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for being here. Welcome to today's episode of the Dream Rare Podcast. I hope you had a good 4th of July. I had a fun one, and I wanted to talk about this topic. I don't know that it'll be the most popular video I ever make, but it might be one of the more important ones. So I want to just jump into it and start off by saying I have no hate in my heart on this topic. I don't hate people. This is not hate speech. I'm not judging you. It's not my job to do that. I'm not God. I'm not pretending to be. So I just want to get that out of the way, because just like if you talk about the vaccine industry, they call you an anti-vaxxer, or if you tell the truth about stuff, they call you a conspiracy theorist. You know, they have names for everything. Anti this, hate speech that. I'm starting to see it on the right more. They're calling DeSantis anti-gay. They're saying, you know, you must hate everyone if you disagree with it. And it's just ridiculous. So I just want to get that out of the way. And I want to show you what spurred this conversation that I'm about to have. And basically, I don't know. I think the whole Republican Party does a few good things. They're worth voting for, but I just see the whole movement, until people wake up, as controlled opposition. So let's look at the tweet. I thought this was a parody at first, but apparently it's not. So this is Greg Kelly from Newsmax. He said, wow, Ron DeSantis desperately attacking Caitlyn Jenner. What's Ron's problem? Caitlyn Jenner stands strong against sexualizing kids and is for protecting biological women in sports. Ron is wrong about MAGA if he thinks busting on Caitlyn's cool. Apologize, Ron. So Greg Kelly, I seriously thought this was parody. He's like, you need to apologize for that ad that DeSantis did, because he was criticizing Pride Month and Trump's connections or whatever. And it's like, how dare you go at Caitlyn Jenner, who's against sexualizing kids, is for biological women in sports, which actually, if you look at the history, which I'm going to pull up, is not true. I mean, Caitlyn Jenner has played in a women's golf tournament. She has defended LPGA, the ladies golf, trans and ladies golf, and also just supported puberty blockers years ago. We'll pull that up in a second. But anyway, I saw that tweet. And sometimes you learn a lot by just being calm and asking a question. So here's the question I asked. Ready? Off of that tweet, I said this. Guys, I don't understand how you can boycott Bud Light, right? Because Dylan Mulvaney, they have a trans ad on a Bud Light can, and it's an American patriotic company, and how dare them push the trans agenda on your beer. But then you have these same people flopping like a fish saying that, you know, it's anti-gay to criticize Caitlyn Jenner or Trump's relationship with Caitlyn Jenner. And I asked people, I don't understand. Like the Republican Party is gayer than the Democratic Party was 15 years ago. They're moving further left on this topic than I was when I was a 19-year-old liberal. Even at 19 years old, I supported gay marriage, but I wasn't this sensitive about these topics. So they're further left than me now. And I started asking these questions. I said, how do you rationalize boycotting Bud Light for this, yet defending it when your party does it? What's the difference, right? Because I've seen Caitlyn Jenner come out, and I've said this. I hate talking about this because Caitlyn Jenner seems like a nice person. I've spoken to over text or over message to multiple members of the family. They're a very conservative family. I love the family. It's just, so I'm not trying to be a hater or anything. I feel bad even saying this, but I just can't help myself. I'm just wondering when I see Caitlyn Jenner out here being like, oh, Dylan Mulvaney, that's not conservative. And I'm like, I understand why Republicans might not like Dylan Mulvaney on a Bud Light can, but Caitlyn Jenner is really like the founder of this slippery slope, coming out as the woman of the year, I think in 2015. Like, why is that different than what Dylan Mulvaney's doing? How is it different? You going on a stage taking a woman's award, but Dylan Mulvaney's like the line. Like, I never understood it. And I suppress myself because I'm not trying to get in fights and stuff, but I'm like, how? I don't understand the difference. And so I asked this question and it really revealed a lot of stuff. People started saying things and I was like, wow, I'm so glad I'm here to ask these questions, because a lot of people, they just go with whatever right-wingers do and they don't think about what they're doing. So I said, how is it different? One of the answers I got, someone said, well, it's different. Multiple people said this actually. It's different because Dylan Mulvaney is pushing beer to an underage audience. And that's what makes it messed up, because she's pushing drinking to like young kids. And I'm like, you think the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light boycott is about Dylan Mulvaney pushing underage drinking? Like, seriously? So many people I'm like, that's not what it's about at all. And then a lot of people started saying, well, Caitlyn Jenner's different than Dylan Mulvaney because Caitlyn Jenner is against the sports thing and against all this other stuff. And I want to pull up this, not to be hateful, not to be rude, but these are videos and articles about Caitlyn Jenner within the last couple of years. Pro-puberty blocker, criticizing Donald Trump with the trans kids stuff, and also has played in women's tournaments and supported women athletes. Like, Caitlyn's flip-flopping on all these topics all the time, so it's hard to know what Caitlyn believes. But I'm just going to roll this video, not out of hate, just to be educational and honest.
I have a message for the trans kids of America. You're winning. I know it doesn't feel like it today or every day, but you're winning. Very soon we will win full freedom nationwide, and it's going to be with bipartisan support. You can help by checking out the National Center for Transgender Equality and letting Washington hear you loud and clear. Now I have a message for the bullies. You're sick. And because you're weak, you pick on kids, you pick on women, or anyone else you think is vulnerable. Apparently, even becoming the Attorney General isn't enough to cure some people of their insecurities. As proof, the Supreme Court will soon hear a very important Title IX case, thanks to the courage of a very brave young man, Gavin Grimm. Mr. President, we'll see you in court. Finally, I have a message for President Trump from, well, one Republican to another. This is a disaster, and you can still fix it. You made a promise to protect the LGBTQ community. Call me.
This obviously got normalized in the mainstream when Caitlyn Jenner won the Highly Public Woman of the Year award. And in the recent years, Caitlyn Jenner has played in a women's golf tournament, apparently supported puberty blockers as proper medical treatment, has defended transgender golfers playing on the Ladies PGA Tour, but then sometimes says that they're against trans in sports. Recently, David Leatherwood said he's leaving Gays Against Groomers, to which Caitlyn Jenner responded, "Not the draft you sent my team, some highly relevant omitted info. You can't play it both ways." You can't play it both ways? Okay. So the reason I'm saying this, and multiple reasons. First of all, I know David. I like David Leatherwood as a friend. I've seen him at events, conservative events, etc. I like David. He's leaving Gays Against Groomers, which was founded by Jamie Mitchell. She likes DeSantis, and a lot of people are getting mad at it. But long story short, it felt like Caitlyn Jenner was kind of like, I'm not going to say threatening him, but being like, oh, that's not what you told me. So it's like now Caitlyn Jenner is like the gatekeeper of the right wing. She's like, pushing like subtweets at David Leatherwood for leaving an organization, is the face of, I don't know, like Caitlyn Jenner's against trans sports, even though Caitlyn Jenner plays in women's tournaments and defends female. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's puberty blockers. Like, I'm just like, what? So why are you boycotting Dylan Mulvaney on a Bud Light can, but this is totally acceptable, and anybody who disagrees with it is hate speech? Rick Grinnell says you hate gays. The Kelly guy from Newsmax comes out and says, how dare DeSantis do this? And I'm like, every time DeSantis hits Trump from the right, their campaign goes further left than I was when I was 17 years old. It's like they're gatekeeping the slippery slope. You don't have to agree with what I'm saying, even though I'm not even saying anything that crazy, but to call someone hate speech or to say that they can't say that, I don't think that MAGA has even thought, and I'm not saying everybody, because a lot of people agree with me, but I don't think they've even thought about the difference between Caitlyn Jenner and Trump being friends and Dylan Mulvaney. It's like, well, it's being pushed on us. And the Woman of the Year wasn't pushed on you. Well, why is it? It's different because Caitlyn Jenner wears a MAGA hat. That's why it's different, because you like that guy. That guy's going further left than I was when I'm 17. And now you associate the two together. But if Dylan Mulvaney put on a Trump hat, you'd probably be pro Dylan Mulvaney. If Caitlyn Jenner was on a Bud Light can and was liberal, you'd boycott Bud Light with a Caitlyn Jenner hat. It's not like I'm not making sense. It's just nobody's thought about this stuff, and it's hard to talk about because now you have the right using words like DeSantis is anti-gay and Christina Pushoff's anti-gay. Christina Pushoff doesn't believe in Pride Month. I don't believe in Pride Month either. Pride is a sin, and celebrating sodomy and homosexuality for a month is insane. If you want to do it, you can, but I don't have to. I don't want to. And if I don't do it, you can't say I hate people. I hate all gay people. I do not. I just think it's an insane thing to do. It's like, it's crazy. I don't hate people who do drugs or hate people who do this, but it's like, I don't have to believe everything. If you cheat on your wife, I don't have to agree with it. If you are a sexual deviant and have sex 7 times a week, I don't have to believe in it. Even if it's straight sex, I don't have to agree with you. And I don't have to celebrate it for a month. I don't think celebrating sexuality or homosexuality is this like amazing thing. I think it's insane. And that's the Republican Party. Ronna Romney McDaniel celebrates Pride Month. Donald Trump sells Pride merch and waves Pride flags. Caitlyn Jenner and Newsmax now will say you hate them if you disagree. And then people don't even know why they believe these things. I'm like, why would Caitlyn Jenner be mad at Dylan Mulvaney? What is Dylan Mulvaney doing that Caitlyn Jenner didn't do? I don't understand. People will say, well, it's different. How is it different? Well, because Dylan Mulvaney's believes in the trans kids stuff. So did Caitlyn Jenner 2 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Well, the sports thing. I mean, Caitlyn Jenner says they're against it now, but has played in female tournaments and defended transgender golfers in female tournaments. So I'm not trying to hate on people. I'm just specifically saying, like, I don't get where this movement's going. It's getting really nuts to me. And then I asked a simple question. Just how is it different? And people, they literally never thought about it. So the comments I was getting were ridiculous. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. But, this is the slippery slope in my view. I'm not hateful. I don't hate Caitlyn Jenner. I don't hate Dylan Mulvaney. So this is a good comment. I'm glad you brought it up. Someone said Dylan Mulvaney is not actually trans. This was another popular comment. Thank you for saying it. So how do you determine who's really trans or not? So Dylan Mulvaney's not actually trans, but Caitlyn Jenner's really trans. That's the hill. That's your conservative hill, is what makes you a woman. Now you're getting into Matt Walsh territory. Why is Caitlyn Jenner a woman, but Dylan Mulvaney's not a woman? Because Dylan Mulvaney didn't get as much, like, is slowly slowing into it and, was dressed more like a man 6 months ago. Like, I mean, this is like literal insano world. I feel like I'm going crazy listening to these people. Anomaly, you don't get it. Dylan Mulvaney's not really a trans, but Caitlyn Jenner really is. So, okay, well, I would love for you to do a PowerPoint presentation and tell me what makes Caitlyn Jenner so much more of a woman than Dylan Mulvaney. Like, this is nuts. This is the Republican Party now. They're trying to like gaslight you into thinking this stuff. And the funniest part about all of this is I was more left leaning when I was 19 years old. I supported gay marriage. I was more liberal, and I wasn't even this far left when I was 19. If you were to make a gay joke or disagree with me, I wouldn't have said, oh my God, you must hate them. I would have just laughed like a normal human being and moved on with my day. Just like when people used to tell race jokes about my race and be like, Polish joke. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, you hate me. Or like, it's like I was further right, even when I was a liberal, when I was 19, than the Trump movement. Someone said I'm still liberal. I'm way further right than Trump's campaign on almost every issue. And I'm not even that crazy with it, but it's like they print money like a socialist. They're further left than I was when I was 17. So if I'm more conservative than the Trump movement, I guess I don't know what type of liberal that really makes me. But in general, it's just getting kind of weird out there. And if you would have went back to Obama before he got into office, he couldn't have even run on the premise of gay marriage. Like, he couldn't have got in office at the time. California voted against gay marriage in the 2000s. California. Bill Clinton wasn't for gay marriage when he got in. And the point that I'm getting is, like, if you were to say, here's Dylan Mulvaney, here's Caitlyn Jenner, and you were like, oh, they're both women, they're biological women, like 20 years ago, you would have been laughed out of the Democrat and Republican Party. 95% of this country would have been like, you're insane. They made movies like Joanna Man, talking about a man competing in women's sports. Like, everyone, including the Democratic Party and most liberals, would have thought you were crazy. They're like, you can dress up, you could be a cross-dresser, you can identify as whatever you want, but I don't think you should play golf with the women. You know, like, this was Democrat thoughts 20 years ago. But now you have Greg Kelly, or whatever his name is, from Newsmax. He's literally like calling DeSantis anti-gay and saying, how dare him hit. I would love to debate Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly, tell me the difference between boycotting Bud Light because there's a trans ad and the person who literally normalizes transgenderism to America in a bigger way than Dylan Mulvaney ever could. Like, please intellectually explain it to me. Because I don't hate Caitlyn Jenner at all. I'm sure we'd get along, hang out, play sports. Seems like a nice person, really nice family. I'm just saying, it's like, you of all people should understand Dylan Mulvaney. You did this 10 years ago. You're the one who brought it to America. How in the world do you not understand what Dylan Mulvaney? Well, it's different. Why is it different? It's not different. It's different because you like a person who supports the guy you like in office. If Caitlyn Jenner was a liberal, if Caitlyn Jenner was a Biden supporter, and they put Caitlyn Jenner on an ad, or Caitlyn Jenner was doing whatever, Republicans would not agree with it. They only agree with it because, and some do, some don't, because it's a Trump supporter. You know, like, it's insano world. And I feel like asking these simple questions, people look at me like I'm like, dude, people are losing it out here. It's very odd. And if I had the same stance I had when I was a 17-year-old liberal, I'm too far right for the Republican Party now. Like, it's like, you know, Rick Grinnell, who was the director of national intelligence. I mean, I believe he is part of the reason Julian Assange is still locked up. Like, that's not hateful, but, you know, disagreeing with Pride Month's hateful. It's just nuts, you know. And I'm not a nasty person. I'm not taking personal jabs. It's just like, I don't want to play this game. I feel the way I feel. If you want to do what you want, it's fine, but I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to celebrate it for a month. I don't have to act like it's amazing. I don't have to think you should play sports. I don't have to, like, but, you know, I'm only one person. A lot of people, most of the world agrees with me, but I'm not saying you can't do something. I guess the Republican Party is just further left than I was when I was 17. And just like, you know, first everybody understood this, then the left pushed it in and they moved the Overton window, and then the right becomes the left, and then the left goes further, and then the right becomes the left, and the left goes further. And now the Republican Party, as we predicted 2 years ago, people used to joke about this stuff. I'm not even kidding. People used to say 3 years ago, they used to be like, just wait for the slippery slope to go, and then you'll have Republicans basically calling you a transphobe if you don't agree with like what they're doing. And that's literally what is happening right now. You have people saying, well, DeSantis is anti-gay. How is he anti-gay? Because his team shared an ad of Trump selling Pride merch and Caitlyn Jenner stuff. It's like, it's actually, I'm glad that they ran that ad. Someone said anomalies gaslighting Trump supporters, still going to vote Trump, no other choice. They're gaslighting you into believing things that you don't even believe. I'm simply reporting reality, but reporting reality is a threat to a movement that doesn't live in reality. You know, when you don't have any morals, principles, critical thinking skills, values, and basic common sense, you just, like a cat with a laser pointer, you just follow the guy selling vaccines and who's further left than Obama was when he got into office. And now it seems like I'm hating, like, this is the new Republican Party. It's like, you know, that's hate speech. Like, it's hate speech to say that Trump worked with Bill Gates and tried to hire him. That's hate speech because we don't like Bill Gates, but when Trump does it, we just turn the other way. So now I'm going to accuse you of being hateful for reporting news that I don't agree with. Now it's like Anomaly's saying what all Republicans believe, but it's gaslighting because the guy involved with it is a guy I like. So now I turn my brain off. The perfect example, someone said it's my reality. It's not my reality. I mean, if you want to make the stance and say, Dylan Mulvaney isn't a woman, but Caitlyn Jenner is a woman, and Dylan Mulvaney's a fake trans, and Caitlyn Jenner's a real trans. Knock yourself out. You know, I mean, you'd be a great contestant for Matt Walsh's What is a Woman too. They'll ask you what is a woman. I mean, a woman is this, unless they put on a MAGA hat, then it's that. But if they are on a Bud Light can and they're liberal, then it's that. It's it's ridiculous. You know, it's this, the funniest thing is everybody knows like the truth, except everyone plays stupid now. There was some sort of like a shooting at a gay club, and they brought a transgender activist on CNN, and they said, you know, that the shooter wasn't really non-binary and trans. They were just pretending to be for like protection. And the transgender person came on CNN and said, well, I know they weren't really trans because they didn't look trans. And that exposed this left-wing CNN, you know, contributor, because it's like yesterday, what is a woman? We don't know what a woman was. A woman could be anything. There is no gender. You could be non-binary. A woman could look like a man. A man could look like a woman. It's not about looks. It's not about boobs. It's not about private parts. It's not about femininity or style or putting on makeup. It's whatever you want it to be, right? That's what they said yesterday. And then as soon as the narrative isn't convenient for the left and a shooter is basically probably faking it for a court protection or something, then all of a sudden these left-wing trans activists come out and be like, well, I know that person's not non-binary because they don't look like it. What does non-binary look like? You know, non-binary means you're not identifying as either gender. So it actually doesn't even look like anything, because the whole point of that label is to just float in whatever space you want to float. And now you got right-wingers sitting here telling me that, you know, Caitlyn Jenner's a real one and Dylan Mulvaney's a fake one. Why? Because they support your president, and now I'm gaslighting you? It's nuts. People have lost their minds over this stuff. It's literally ridiculous. I'm not here hating on people, but it's just, I don't know. It's like, I guess that's the Republican Party now. They'll just call you like a anti-gay transphobe if you think Caitlyn Jenner and Dylan Mulvaney are very similar. I think they're like very, very similar. I think what Dylan Mulvaney did is what Caitlyn Jenner did 6 years ago. And on one day, Caitlyn Jenner says they're against trans sports. The next day, they're playing in women's golf tournaments. One day, they're against the kid stuff. A couple years ago, they're mad at Trump for criticizing trans kids and saying that they think they should be on puberty blockers. You know, I had somebody on my Twitter, and they were like, well, the difference is Caitlyn's never supported it, like the kid thing. And then I posted the puberty blockers thing, and they're like, well, is that for a kid? And I'm like, do you not know what the word puberty means? Like, now you're going to gaslight yourself into not knowing what puberty is? To me, this is a controlled demolition of the conservative movement. It's like the left goes here, the right goes here, the left goes here, the right goes here. And then we're in that moment now. That's why I'm reporting on this. I don't like to stir up the social thing. I don't like to argue with people on Twitter. I have better things to do than like hissy fit in a text-based argument. But it's like we're literally in the era of DeSantis moving further right than Trump, who's further left than Obama was when he came into office. And now you have the Trump campaign coming out, calling them transphobes, calling you anti-gay, calling it hate speech. And they can't even articulate what the difference is between the Bud Light boycott and supporting that stuff, because there is no difference. They just are psychopaths. They've lost their mind. They've lost their soul. They have no critical thinking skills. They've fallen so far into idol worship and hypocrisy that they don't even know why they believe what they believe. That's why when I start to ask people, they're even lying to themselves about what the boycott's about. They're like, the difference is the Dylan Mulvaney boycott is because there's underage drinkers. You think the Dylan Mulvaney boycott's about young kids drinking beer? Stop lying to yourself. Nobody thinks it's about that. It's about them putting a transgender ad on a Bud Light can and pushing it out to the masses, the same way Caitlyn Jenner basically, trailblazed that in 2015. It's like either you're for it or against it. I'm just saying be consistent. If you're for it, then be for it. If you're against it, be against it. But if you're only for it when they support your candidates, it's not a moral or a value you have. It's a preference. It's just like bizarro world to watch. And also, a lot of people don't know this, but you could look it up yourself. Trump is also one of the trailblazers. Trump's also one of the trailblazers of normalizing it in women's competitions, because Trump allowed a transgender woman to compete with biologically born women in 2012. Go Google that. They were banning trans women from competing with women, and Trump actually overturned it. And he said, I see no reason why they can't perform. And all I'm saying, if you support that, God bless you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sitting here hating on people. I'm just telling you, if you say, I'm so mad that they're taking women's places in sports and beauty pageants. Okay, well then tell that to Trump, because he actually blazed the way for this in 2012. He allowed them to compete before anybody did. Between Trump and Caitlyn Jenner, they're trailblazers of this entire thing. You don't believe it though, because you think I'm gaslighting you because it's an inconvenient truth that you don't want to hear. It's wild, wild stuff. I'm convinced at this point, and I don't know if this is like a natural thing or if it's like, been planned, because I don't really know, but I'm starting to see how it all works. And without getting mad at what I'm saying, just listen. The left controls the right. The left moves the slippery slope, and the right becomes the left. The right becomes the left, and the left just keeps moving. They keep moving towards communism. They keep moving towards insanity. They keep moving towards upside down world. And the best the Republicans can do is give you what the Democrats gave you 5 years ago. Like, that's the best they can offer is, I'm not Joe Biden. Yeah, I'm terrible. Yeah, I'll print more money than Karl Marx on steroids, but I'm not Obama. Yeah, I'm further left than liberals were 15 years ago, but I'm not Obama. That's all the right can do. The left controls the right because the left moves towards insanity, and then the right gatekeeps what they used to gatekeep 5 years ago. And as soon as the left hops to a new topic that's even crazier, the right gatekeeps what nobody actually thought 15 years ago. I don't care what people think about gender and stuff, but it's like, just be consistent. I obviously have my opinions about it, but I don't feel like fighting with people over it. It's like, go knock yourself out. Just leave me alone. But in general, I just see the blaring hypocrisy of it. And I want to say, with this next election, the left has already decided who Republicans are going to vote for. And I know people are going to get mad at this, but it's 100% the truth. And if you listen and use your common sense and just consider what I'm saying, you'll know it's true. In the polls, multiple polls, regular polls, people I followed, asking their audience, Trump and DeSantis were 50-50. They were extremely close. A lot of people, like the Hodge twins, put out a poll and they said, who do you like better, Trump or DeSantis? It was DeSantis by like 15 points. Now it's Trump by like 30 points. Long story, and there's real actual polls that say this too. But anyway, the point that I'm getting to is, it was very close between Trump and DeSantis. It just was. It's not anymore. Trump apparently is like 30 points ahead. What was the one thing that made conservatives go into Trump's hands again? What was it? Was it something Trump did himself? It wasn't. Was it something the Republican Party did? It wasn't. Was it something the conservative movement did? It wasn't. It was what the left did. The left decided that right-wingers are going to vote for Trump. Someone said, I need to move on. You could click the X button. I'm making complete sense. This is a great live stream. I'm calm. You just don't want to hear the truth. The truth sounds like hate speech to you. So you want me to move on because I'm ruining your little fake world you live in. I'm shattering your illusions. I'm shattering the narrative that operative influencers and pathological liars told you. But I'm just saying, in general, whether you're voting for Trump or not, the right did not decide that Trump was going to be 30 points ahead. It was the left. It was the indictment. The left made a move, and it sent 30% more people into the hands of Trump. Whether you agree with it or not, it's the truth. The right didn't decide that was going to happen. Trump didn't make a move that made you like him more. Trump didn't say a policy that he didn't learn from anything. He didn't show you that he's totally different. What happened was the left, they did something, and the left controls the right. The left made a move. The left made Trump look like a villain or a hero, depending what side you're on. The left did something, and then the right went 40%. The left controls the right in every way possible. The left controls the right socially. The left controls the right economically. The left controls the primary. The left controls what candidates drop or sink. Trump didn't decide. Like, if Trump came out and said, here's my policies, here's my plan, here's why I'm better than DeSantis, here's what it is, and then he went 40% in the polls, I'd be like, okay, Trump himself just did that. He changed the tides. That's not what happened. The tides were changed, and they've never turned with a move that the left made. And all I'm going to say is this: whether you agree with it or not, you think it's organic or not, that's the truth. The left decided that Trump would be 30 points ahead, not conservatives and Republicans by their own will or something that the party did. The left put you back there. And I'll just say this as well. If you look at 2016, I've talked to people and I said, do you think there's a possibility that was planned because they think he's an easier candidate to beat? And a lot of people said, I'll consider it, which is awesome. Some people said to me, no, they would never do that. The left they're not that smart. I've heard multiple people say that to me. The left is not that smart. Guys, you know that there's emails that prove that they did that in 2016, right? It's called the Pied Piper strategy. And if you don't know what the Pied Piper is, it's the guy who sang, played his little thing and sent the kids off into the ocean, and they all, followed him and died. So interesting theory, right? Controlled opposition, Pied Piper. But anyway, they have already done that. So I'm not saying they're doing it for sure, but we have evidence that the Democratic Party has already used the Pied Piper strategy to elevate the candidate that they think is the easiest to beat. So this idea that people think that they're too stupid to do it, no, they're not stupid. You're the stupid one because they've already done it. I'm not saying you have to believe they're doing it again, but if you think that they never could do that when they already literally did that, you're just plain wrong. Someone said I have TDS. Now it's hate speech. You can't even make an argument, a cohesive argument to say anything I've said is wrong. So you just accused me of hate. It's the same way I talk about the Israel lobby. They say it's anti-Semitic, even though I'm not hateful at all towards Israel, Israelis, or Jewish people around the world. I got love for everybody. They call it anti-Semitic. When I tell the truth about Big Pharma, they say it's a conspiracy theory. It's anti-vaxxer. Can they prove what I'm saying wrong? Well, no, because I'm telling the truth. I've memorized how liability shields work. So they just call it anti-vaxxer. When you tell the truth about the man and the woman and a normal relationship, they call you sexist. If you disagree with affirmative action, you're a racist. Or if you notice statistics, you're a racist, right? And now if you tell the truth about the Trump campaign and how far left they've gone and how fake they are, people will accuse you of hate. You just hate them. It's hate speech. You can't say why, because it's not hate. It's the truth. I'm calm. I haven't raised my voice one time this live stream. You can't articulate a single thing that I've said wrong. So you just accused me of hate. You're liberals, and this is what happens. What I'm saying with DeSantis and Trump, I don't trust DeSantis. I'm not like a super fan of DeSantis. I don't trust politicians anymore. I don't fully trust RFK or anything. So you're not going to get me on like, oh, you're this and that. I don't trust any of these people. But anyway, there's pros and cons to all the candidates. And one thing that I've noticed is, one, when it comes to RFK, he's really good on the big pharma stuff. He's really authentic. And when you listen to him speak, he's interesting and educational. He can tell you about 15 different court cases. Monsanto, the guy's like an encyclopedia of U.S. history when it comes to the Food and Drug Administration. Whether you hate or RFK or love him, he's worth listening to because he's educational. When it comes to DeSantis, I don't care if you like or dislike DeSantis, but the truth is, if you're paying attention and you haven't completely lost your mind over Donald Trump, every time DeSantis hits Trump from the right, Trump moves left. And in many cases, he moves further left than I've ever been, even when I was a liberal. And I can't unsee it. I had somebody freak out at me on Twitter the other day and say, Anomaly, when are you going to talk about all the deaths in Florida? And she posted a CDC article and the COVID data out of context with no per capita, and also not telling the truth about how they're testing, how much they're testing, how they're counting deaths. So now, because this was something that nobody who liked Trump did. 6 months ago, everyone said Florida's the greatest state. They stuck it to Fauci. They saved the country because they pushed California and opened up earlier. And now you got people smearing me saying, read this CDC article. Like, now Trump supporters are like liberals. They're like, well, the CDC said Florida killed everybody. Why won't you talk about it, Anomaly? I have 50 videos on it. I've covered it from 2020 to 2022, but I covered it accurately. And I didn't just take a CNN CDC stance because Trump did. It's like Trump has now mimicked the CDC and CNN and MSNBC on calling DeSantis a killer and showing how bad he did during COVID with all this skewed data. And now Trump supporters are doing it because Trump did it. Like, the Trump supporters are now the CDC and CNN and MSNBC. They're further left than I was when I was 19. They're calling you anti-gay. They're calling you, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's hate speech. How can people not see it? This is my takeaway from the entire, I would say, campaign so far. It's like RFK is very good on big pharma. We got scammed exponentially from 2020 to 2022. And it's a huge, huge topic that Donald Trump just doesn't want to talk about that much. So it's natural that RFK gets more popular, because this was like the biggest crazy scandal of our lifetime, probably one of the craziest things that's happened this century. And Trump doesn't want to talk about it because he was in office when it happened, and it's just not convenient for his angle. So he ignores it. DeSantis talks about it. RFK talks about it. So RFK is popular because he's making it a huge issue, and it is a huge issue, and he knows a lot about it. DeSantis, if you look at all of his stuff, whether you trust him or not, I'm not telling you to trust him. He's taking this stance of hitting Trump on policy. You didn't finish the wall. The prison reform thing was like a liberal jailbreak bill. He says, inflation was caused when you printed too much money, not just Biden, and we made mistakes. You've gone too far left on the LGBTQ issue. And every time DeSantis hits Trump from the right, Trump moves further and further left, like literally without shame, and nobody even notices because it's like this battle that they're doing. I have to say that the Trump campaign is genius on marketing. They're branding geniuses. Trump is such a good marketer that he's convinced people with Sal Alinsky tactics that they can't vote for DeSantis because DeSantis has done things that Trump's also done. But when DeSantis does it, it's bad and irredeemable. When Trump does it, you have to pretend like it never happened, close your eyes, or make excuses for it and say that it's a different thing. Like if Jeb Bush is at the inauguration for DeSantis, like Obama was at the inauguration for Trump, then DeSantis is an irredeemable rhino. But when Trump says he's going to campaign for Lindsey Graham, who's one of the worst people in the Republican Party, he's exposing him. It's like this is his whole campaign is gaslighting. His whole campaign is going further left than I was when I was 17. His whole campaign is personal attacks and mind controlling people into just being hyenas, yelling at everybody, calling them names. And it's like, it just is what it is. I didn't ask for this. I get why people would want to vote for it. But, when you ask simple questions about this stuff, people haven't had to think about it. Like they don't think. They're like, well, it's so different. How is it different? Well, because the underage kids, it's like, it's not that different. Someone said two things I wanted to cover too real quick that I thought was kind of crazy. Like at this point, I like RFK Jr. Like as a person, I like RFK Jr., but he's a little too liberal for me. So I don't know if I would ever vote for him. I don't love DeSantis, but I feel like he's more conservative policy wise, and I think he wields power better. But I don't like him that much. Donald Trump, I have to be honest, I used to love Donald Trump. He used to be my favorite person. He used to be like my favorite politician. I thought Trump was the greatest politician in modern history. Now I have to be honest with you guys, I don't like him at all. I really don't. Like I saw on 4th of July, he tweeted out a picture of him photoshopped in some AI image with as if he was George Washington. And it's like the level of ego and narcissism and brainwash to put yourself in, you get what I'm saying? Like no matter if you're Donald Trump, myself, a patriot, whoever you are, the 4th of July is about Independence Day. It's about respecting the founding fathers who created our country. It's a huge day. It's about it's not about you. It's not, you could post a selfie or whatever, but to Photoshop yourself into George Washington and be like, I'm that. And it's like, dude, he sucks. Like that's like evil to me. It's like, he's just like brainwashing people with these like AI images. You're not George Washington, bro. You're far from it. George Washington would have locked down for 3 months and ran around the country selling vaccines. George Washington, you're not George Washington, bro. And then I saw he posted something too, where he's now retweeting this idea that there were like 30 to 40 million votes just made up in the election, like as if there were way less votes. And to me, this is like controlled demolition stuff. If you're going to say, here's how we lost the election and here's how they cheated. They suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story. Everybody knows this is a provable way that they cheated. There was just a court case recently that showed that the Biden administration can't work with big tech companies. Huge win. But anyway, it's like they push this Hunter Biden story to the side to help Joe Biden win. They lock the country down. Everybody's home. Nobody can travel. Nobody can go anywhere. You're literally not allowed to travel. And then all the Democrat states start sending mass mail-in ballots to your house. And there's so many different ways that could backfire. If you say that and you're like, hey, they did this in these states, they did this in these cities, and in order to fix the election, we have to point out exactly where they cheated and be pinpoint accurate about it so we can fix it or at least expose it and make sure it's not so easy. If you're doing what Carrie Lake is doing and saying, and retweeting things saying, I think all 50 states were stolen. Well, there's a surefire way of never fixing anything because you're not pinpoint accurate. You're just being a liar. Now Donald Trump saying that 38 million, 36 million votes were just created. No, they weren't, bro. Everybody was home. The left did a great job running circles around you. You were smiling with Gavin Newsom. You got played like a fiddle by everybody in your campaign, played like a fiddle by Lindsey Graham, played like a fiddle by Gavin Newsom, played like a fiddle by Bill Barr, played like a fiddle by Christopher Wray, played like a fiddle by Bill Gates. You got played like a fiddle by everybody. Fauci played you like a fiddle. Dr. Birx played you like a fiddle. The CDC played you like, everybody played you like a fiddle. And now you're going to sit there and be like, oh, now there were like 36 million votes less. It's like, dude, no, there weren't. There were way more people stuck at home. They did the mass mail-in. You know how easy it is if you're not a voter? You know, I had friends that probably voted for Biden that would have been DJing overseas or working. They were not allowed to travel. They were stuck in their house. The state sent them a ballot, and then they never would have voted, but they made it so easy, and there was nothing going on. It's not like you can go to Coachella. It's not like you could travel to a foreign country. You were stuck at home in November under most Democrat states. That's how they cheated. You know what I'm saying? Yes, they got mass mail-in ballots. That's insane. No idea is insane. I think anytime you're just dumping ballots over everywhere, it's easy to do fraud in many ways. But one of the main ways that they cheated was locking down the whole country, making everyone stuck there, telling every social media company to register people, then sending a ballot to your house and making it ridiculously easy to vote when normally 9 out of 10 of these people would have been somewhere else and not caring about it, but they had nothing to care about. So the point that I'm saying is like, I think this whole movement of his is controlled demolition. Carrie Lake's running around making as much money as she can, saying, oh, maybe, you know, she's retweeting things saying, California is really blue. It's like, it's really not. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I live in a red county, and even a lot of the red areas are turning blue. All the kids are blue. A lot of the counties are blue. The people, like, it's not, you know, it's not just like, yeah, there are conservatives here, but they're older. All the younger kids are really blue. Like, it really is turning blue. I'm not saying that everywhere isn't. I'm not saying they didn't cheat anywhere. But if you just sit there and say everything's cheated, everything's fake, we won everything, we got 40 million more votes than they said, you're basically blurring the lines of reality and making sure we can't do anything about it. And out of all these things that Trump keeps saying, oh, they changed 40 million votes, whatever. Is he fixing any of these things? If you're going to talk about it and not fix it, you're just going to put confidence down. The left believes in the elections now, and the right doesn't. So all these people during Georgia, they're like, I'm not going to vote. Who cares? Who cares? It's like, you're not going to vote, then the left's going to win. I mean, you've won elections. We won more elections in California than we have in a long time. You know, Ron DeSantis won by 10 points. Georgia won, Governor Kemp won, and this guy lost. You're going to sit there and not vote. Why? Well, because it's rigged. Well, then why do you care so much about Donald Trump if it's rigged? Well, because I like him. Well, what's the point of liking someone in an election? If Trump's saying all this stuff, why would people even go out and vote? It's like, fix it then. If that's all happening, if you can't fix it, you can't just talk about it all the time. It's a controlled demolition of the movement. They're moving further left economically than Obama. They're moving further left socially than Bill Clinton. They call you anti this and hate speech and TDS if you talk about any of this stuff. They're blowing up any chances of actually fixing elections, meanwhile turning everybody against the person who actually fixed this election. And the only governor in the state to have flipped a blue city red, which is probably the biggest Republican accomplishment in recent history, is flipping Miami. That's a huge accomplishment. Oh, but everybody just hate on him and just run circles around a guy photoshopping himself into George Washington on 4th of July and saying that maybe 36, 38 million votes were made up. It's like, do you realize that this is like a controlled demolition? It's basically like a Pied Piper. Follow me as I just act insane. Follow me. They ask him a question. They're like, how are you going to win suburban women? And he's like, the election was stolen. The election was rigged. So you're not even going to campaign to suburban women? They're probably purposely elevating Trump because he's an easy candidate to beat, because he's losing it. He's losing it completely. The people running around him are losing it. They don't even know what they're saying anymore. And they've turned into a meme of what people said a year ago. People used to share memes with me as jokes and be like, in 2 years, the Republican Party will start calling you a transphobe if you disagree with like the LGBTQ++ in any sort of way, even if you're not hateful at all. And I'm like, nah, maybe, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're not going to go there. They literally have gone there. It's literally at that point now. It's like, we need to boycott Bud Light because there's a transgender on the bottle. But when a transgender puts on a MAGA hat, that's just and we put them on Fox News because they want to build a wall. That's just conservatism. And here's my thing about it. If you just liked that and disagreed, I wouldn't even be making this video. The reason I'm making this video is because it's a gatekeeping effort. It's like the people that are escalating the right into the left are the ones now saying you're anti, you hate. If they just said, hey, I like Caitlyn Jenner on Fox News. I like Caitlyn Jenner playing, female golf tournaments. I like Caitlyn Jenner talking about puberty blockers and getting mad at Trump when he passed. Like, if everybody just said that, it's like, okay, that's just what they are. They're liberal conservatives, right? There's some people who just vote right because it's economics. They don't care. They're socially liberal, right? I don't care. It's not my opinion to tell you what to think. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy. It's hypocritical to say this person who normalized this to the entire country is okay as long as they put on a MAGA hat, but it's only bad if you look too much like a guy and your name's Dylan Mulvaney, then I have a problem with it. But if you put on a MAGA hat and arm wrestle with Donald Trump, then it's fine. Why is it fine? That people don't even know why it's fine because they haven't even thought of it. I'm just like, be on, like, either you think that or you think that. But what people are starting to figure out is the biggest energy in the Republican Party has nothing to do with values or morals or God or truth or biology. None of that stuff. It has to do with Trump. If Trump does this, then that's what we do. If he does this, that's what we do. If he does this, that's what we do. It's not based on anything people think. They don't think. It's like, let me just defend whatever he does. You get what I'm saying? If I had a friend and my friend just started railing cocaine every day, like the person at the White House who they just don't know who it is. I wonder who it was. Wink, wink, wink. But anyway, it's like if I had a friend that was just like railing cocaine every day for like 3 months and I'm like, yo, that person's probably going to die or get sick. That's not healthy. Like, I wouldn't do it. It doesn't mean I hate them. Doesn't mean I hate my friend. It's just like they're doing blow every day. And I don't want to live that lifestyle. So I agree to disagree and I'm going to be myself and they could be that, but I hope they change. That's like, people don't do that though. It's like, they're like, well, if he does it, then that's what I think. It's like, is that what you think? Like, do you have thoughts of your own? Do you have your own, different, I don't know. I see some of it, but other things it's, it's just unpopular to talk about. There's no real move for it. Someone said political cheerleading is the lowest IQ. It's getting really bad. And I have a few theories of why it's getting so bad, but I want to use this analogy. The NBA plays the best teams, right? If one team was really good, but they started playing like kindergartners, they'd start to get worse. If you're training as a UFC fighter, you train with good people. If you train with bad people, you got to keep the competition up. Because the left has gotten so bad, the right is getting worse because they have no competition. So if your competition is Joe Biden, a bar of soap, I got a harmonica here. This harmonica is a better president than Joe Biden. So because Joe Biden's so pathetic, he's gone so far off the rails that Republicans think it's impressive what they're doing, and it's not. It's like, if I could beat a kindergartner at basketball. I just dunked on a Fisher Price net. It doesn't make me Michael Jordan. So I believe that the right's getting so bad because the left is so bad, and the right just follows the left. The right doesn't even make decisions based off what their people do. The right makes decisions off what the left does. And whether people want to get mad at this or not, I'm going to repeat it because it's probably one of the best things I've said all day. The right did not decide organically that they were going to vote for Trump over DeSantis by a 30-point margin. The right did not decide that. The Republican Party didn't do anything different. Trump didn't say anything. Trump didn't change anything. He didn't earn this or earn that. It was the left that decided that the right was going to fly back into Trump's hands. That's just what happened. The day that the polls swung was the day that the left did something to Trump and moved you back into his hands. And overnight, people that were like, dude, I don't like his rhetoric. He's starting to be weak. I think it's time for something fresh. DeSantis did a good job leading during COVID. Overnight, the left did something and the left drove people back into his hands. And people were like, well, I got to vote for him because the left persecuted him. And it's like, bro, you think they don't know that? You think the left's stupid? You think they don't know that's going to max out his fundraising, raise him in the polls, get him elected over DeSantis? They're not, they're not afraid of him in a general because they know how. And it's like, even 4 or 5 years ago, this guy is on the premise of everything. You know what I'm saying? He, like, Trump in his prime, he's like right about mostly everything. I'm not going to say everything, but like Trump in his prime is a real problem. They made a mistake in 2016, allegedly. He was like real deal. Everything he was saying on Twitter, I'm like, fact. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not hating on Trump. I'm like, this guy's killing it. He's not that guy anymore. Listen to him in interviews. He's like a shell of himself. He's like like he's just like so obsessed with himself, and he's like losing his mind. He doesn't even make sense anymore. They're like, so what do you think about this? My vaccine saved 100 million lives. That's not the Trump of 2018. How are you going to get suburban women? The election, it's all, let me Photoshop myself in George Washington. That'll really get me some votes. No, dude, that's just going to make your supporters be that much more sycophantic. And people who don't like you or on the fence just dislike you more and more and more because, but you could still win the election because Joe Biden sucks. So it's going to come down to like, who's going to screw up last? Is Joe Biden going to fall off the stage? Is Trump going to interrupt him 15 times and look rude? Is there going to be a riot that sweeps our country? This next election, if it's Trump versus Biden, it's going to be like a lesser of two evils. Like who blows it last, or whose team creates some sort of narrative in the last couple of weeks to drive people towards the other side. And in 2016, whether people want to admit it or not, there were two people, in my opinion, that helped Trump more than even himself: Julian Assange and James O'Keefe. I mean, you don't have to agree with this, but I think that the WikiLeaks emails, Trump knows that. He talked about it on his campaign trail about how much he liked it until he got into office. He hired people like Pompeo and Rick Grenell, who didn't like Julian Assange. But in general, the WikiLeaks emails threw a lot of people behind Donald Trump. And also, that's why the left was so pissed off. And James O'Keefe, that week before, he released some sort of Project Veritas that showed that they were paying mentally ill people at Trump rallies to commit violence. I remember I had a friend who was conservative but didn't like Trump, and he ended up voting for Trump off of that because he's like, dude, that's crazy that the left is paying crazy people to start violence at Trump rallies. So James O'Keefe and Julian Assange helped a lot. In 2020, the left had all the momentum. The left did mass mail-in ballots. They had the George Floyd riots, which helped them tremendously. Everybody was stuck at home. COVID looked bad just psychologically, for Trump, even though it's not his fault. And they outsmarted the Trump campaign in 2020 in 15 different ways. And the Trump campaign takes no accountability. They don't care. So the truth is, in order to win an election, one, you need to gain enough people, moderates, independents, women, etc. But also you have to, play chess. Like the left is going to play chess. I would not be shocked if there's another crazy event in 2024. They know psychologically, whether they admit it or not. I'm not saying they stage things, but I think that they manipulate things to their advantage when they can. And also, to be honest, I do think that they stage some stuff because it's history. The Lavon affair is history. The Gulf of Tonkin is history. What else? The incubators or whatever, the lies around the Iraq war. I can't think of them all, but you could Google a list of false flags. Like, they are real. I'm not saying that they're always happening, but when there's an emotional event and there's a tragedy and something crazy, it drives people to do something. It's like when there's a lot of support for guns, like the COVID lockdowns made gun support go through the roof. And then school shootings make gun support go down. When somebody gets shot and when a kid gets shot, the emotions of people are like, man, this is too much. But then when you get locked down and everybody's acting like zombies and you can't leave your house, it made a lot of people be like, maybe I should own a gun, because this is like, feels like I'm in a zombie movie, where the apocalypto movie. So, I'm not saying that some of these are organic events, but, they know this stuff. This is all I'm going to say before I leave. A few things. One, my original point of, I don't know. I find it just crazy that the right is now gatekeeping LGBTQ plus to the point where you're anti-gay, you're a transphobe and whatever. If you run an ad just like poking at this stuff, to me, I understand people will be like, well, this is that, and it's only that. To me, I don't think anyone really has to play along to this stuff. I personally think that sexuality doesn't need to be so public in every movie. I mean, most people agree with this on my stream, but I don't think Pride Month should be celebrated at all. I don't hate people. I'm not judging. I'm sorry for being crude. I apologize if people's kids are watching. It's time to put your hands over their ears. They shouldn't be watching this. But anyway, it's like, if you get blowjobs, I'm not going to judge you. But if you're like, we need a month to celebrate blowjobs, you're a pervert. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep it to yourself. Do I talk about like my craziest sexual escapades on Facebook 1,000 times? No, because I'm not a weirdo. It's like I have a life of my own, but I don't think it's necessary to shove it in everyone else's face. But I guess when it's homosexuality, all of a sudden it's everybody's business all the time. And we got to celebrate it for a month. And it's so great. And Rick Grinnell will call you a homophobe. It's like, it's ridiculous, and that's the right wing. Ronna Romney McDaniel tweeting Pride Month. Rick Grinnell saying you hate gays if you don't want to celebrate Pride Month. Greg Kelly crying because, there was a DeSantis ad that made him feel uncomfortable. Bro, knock yourself out, whatever you want to do. But I'm not going to sit on my side of politics and watch these people cry hate speech when you challenge their views. And even when I was liberal at 19, these people are further left than I was. I didn't care about gay people. I had no problem with gay marriage, but I never was this big of a snowflake. Even when I was 19 years old, I had friends who would say gay. Rappers would say gay all the time. I was like, oh my gosh, you're a transphobe. Like, this is the right wing now. The right wing is further left than Obama when he got into office. The right wing is further left than Clinton was. It's nuts on almost everything, including crime. It's crazy. So the left controls the right because they just keep moving towards wherever they want. And the best you can get is a Greg Kelly or, they'll call me the word that I'm not even going to use now because I don't want to give it any gas. But I don't know if you guys saw Ted Cruz. He tweeted about Israel on 4th of July. He's like, here on this 4th of July, we need to remember Israel. This dude is such a traitor. He can't even talk about his own country. If Israel had their Independence Day or whatever, tweet about Israel. Talk about your country. If Serbia has an Independence Day, talk about Serbia. The fact that Ted Cruz can't even talk about America on the 4th of July, 1776, which has nothing to do with the state of Israel because it wasn't even there until the 1900s. I'm not saying you got to hate Israel. I'm not saying any of that stuff. It's just, this is about, you got Donald Trump photoshopping his face and doing an AI image of him as George Washington, which he's far from in every way possible. You have Ted Cruz slobbering over his allegiance to a foreign country on our day of Independence Day. Like, this is the Republican Party. Greg Kelly from Newsmax is basically calling you a transphobe. Rick Grinnell says you hate gay. Like, this party is a freaking joke. The only reason people don't realize it's a joke is because they're so obsessed with Donald Trump that they can't think straight. Donald Trump has brainwashed the conservative movement, and these people didn't even organically want to vote for him. The left made you do it. I know this for a fact. I was watching the polls. I was reading online. It was neck and neck with Trump and DeSantis. And then the left did something and it made the left laughs at you. They laugh at Trump supporters. Like, look at these people. They don't even have a mind of their own. They don't even vote based on their own thoughts. We just do something and we control them. We control their social policies. We control their economic policies. Trump's in office. He prints more money than Karl Marx on steroids. And people say I'm a hate speech if I say it. And then they think that Joe Biden only destroyed the economy when the Republicans did too. The party's a joke. The party is further left in every single way than it ever was. And that's all they could do is just gatekeep the slippery slope. And then the left is like, dude, all we have to do is make an event. They know what you're going to do. You think they don't know that? Oh, well, now, I mean, he didn't change in any way. He didn't convince me in any way. The left just did something to him. And I'm that type of person where now I got to vote for the guy that's getting persecuted by the left. You think they don't know this? Of course they do. They control you in every single way. And now I'm in a social circle around a bunch of people that freak out at every single thing I say. It's like, get me out of politics. I want to get out of this demonic, stupid world. Like, we're living in a meme. We're literally living in a meme that someone shared to me 2 years ago. Bro, the right is so fake and they're so controlled op and the Overton window goes so far that they're going to start accusing you of like hating transgenders if you disagree with sports in 3 years. Like, and I'm like, nah, they're not going to do that. Like, they're not that crazy. And it's like, it's all happening. It's like the right is seriously so far gone. It's ridiculous. And I'm not a hateful person. I don't care if, you dress up or say you're this or say you're that. I don't care if you say you're a two-spirited, non-binary, fairy that came from Pluto to hawk tarot cards and sell my pillows. I don't care what you do. I'm not a hateful person. If I meet somebody that's trans or gay or straight, I'm not here to make you feel bad. I don't know you. I don't know your story. And if I really care about you, if you're gay or trans or whoever you are, if you have issues or not, if I really care about you, my job is not just to hate on you or beat you down. My job as a friend would be to like try to figure it out and have a conversation, just like with me. So I'm not a nasty person. I don't personally, it's not my job to run around and tell people what to do. I'm focused on myself. I'm focused on my output, what I'm doing. I think that in many ways, I'm underachieving, to be honest. So I don't have time to like tell everyone else what to do because I have goals for myself. My goals don't involve telling someone else how to live. My goals involve having a family. You know what I'm saying? Advancing my career, etc. So that's just the truth. Like some people will say that's a cop out, but if I get to the point where I feel like my life's complete and I did everything that I wanted to do, then maybe I'll tell everyone else what to do. But until then, I just don't feel like that person. However, I'm just watching all of this unfold on Twitter and Newsmax, and I'm like, what planet are we living on? I don't hate Caitlyn Jenner. Like I said, I've talked to multiple members of Caitlyn's family. Great family, great person. But it's like, I don't get what's going on. And now that like the Trump campaign is going to be gatekept by Caitlyn Jenner, like strong arming everybody, like it's ridiculous. Nafia Jackson said, please stay strong. Please stay consistent. People will disagree whether they know it or not. You inspire me. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. It's one of those things that I'm naturally not a confrontational person, despite what it may seem like. I'm not a confrontational person in person, at parties. I'm a very likable guy. I'm a very personable guy. I like to be funny. I like to get along. I'm not confrontational. So what I do bothers me a little bit because everything I say is controversial now. Like I tweeted something about women and pictures, and to me, it wasn't even a big deal. It got 2 million views and got like 10,000, 20,000 responses. I was like, holy crap. Like I didn't even mean, like I don't need that much attention. I just firing off on Twitter like everyone else. You know, I'm like, this is what I think. Click. And I get back to my phone after I'm like out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got hundreds of people being like, oh my gosh, I'll tell you what I said just because I want to. It's funny. I was like, I didn't want this to get that big. I don't feel like arguing about it, but I basically said this, and this goes for both genders, but I'm talking women. If I see a woman that has a boyfriend, right? This is just my opinion. You don't have to agree. A lot of people do. Some people cry. I don't care. If I see a chick who says, oh, I have a boyfriend, or they have a boyfriend, right? But they're always posting selfies of themselves. You know what I'm saying? Without the guy there. Hot selfies, showing off their body without their guy. You go to their Instagram, their guy's nowhere to be found. It's all just vain pictures of themselves and how hot they are, turning on guys, attracting guys. I said, I think two things in my head. I think either they're going to break up soon, she doesn't respect him, or she's cheating on him, but really just she doesn't respect him, or she's seeking other attention from other guys, because that's what that is. And, you know, most people agreed with me, but a lot of liberals, it caught on and they're freaking out. They're like, oh my gosh, this guy's so insecure. I'm not insecure. I don't, I don't date people like that. You could date this. Like if you're attracted to that, go knock yourself out. Different strokes for different folks. But that's the way I think. And, you know, it was funny. I had a chick hit me up, and she was like, so when you post selfies, is that you just seeking attention from women? And I was like, kind of, yeah, I don't know, sort of. Like, yeah, I get, like, I posted a picture on 4th of July and it did better than my normal posts. I'm like, maybe I should just be a vain influencer and take stupid selfies. But yeah, I don't know. I'm single. I was just throwing it out there. Yeah, if I had a wife and kids, yeah, I probably wouldn't be posting selfies 5 times a week. I post them like once every 3 months, even though I'm single. But in general, yeah, no, if I had a wife and kids, I would not be posting like, selfies of me looking good all the time. Why would I? I'm seeking validation from other people. I have more reason than others to, I have more reason than others to do it. I'm an influencer, but I wouldn't do that if I had a wife. I'd be like, I'll post what I need to post. I'll post album art or my videos. But yeah, I would not do that. And if I see women doing that, I have a boyfriend. Where is he? I don't see him on your Instagram. You're posting hot selfies 5 times a week. Either you're going to break up or I don't think you respect him. That's my opinion. People that blew up. Like I'm Andrew Tate now. Everyone's crying. I'm like, this is why I don't know what to say anymore. I'm not a confrontational person. I don't like fighting with people, but all of my opinions are controversial. Everything I say is my opinions on men and women. Apparently that's controversial. My opinions on Trump, too controversial for MAGA world now, even though most of it's true, if not all of it. My opinions on, I guess, like Dylan Mulvaney versus Caitlyn Jenner, that's controversial now in both parties. I'm like, I might as well just shut up at this point because I'm not even trying to argue or get attention, but I can't say any, like my thoughts are all not popular at this point. Like, I'm like, should I just not say anything? I'm not trying to quit, but it's like, I can't even make a statement without people freaking out. Oh my gosh, you just hate Trump. I don't hate anybody. Oh, you're a homophobe. I'm not, I've never been mean to anybody based on anything, who they think they are. I'm kind of fascinated by it, to be honest. Like, if I really was friends with somebody and I really wanted to help them, I wouldn't just talk trash to them on Twitter. I would have a conversation with them. Like, for example, maybe this is too much information, but that's kind of my whole thing. I have a friend that's gay, and he told me about his life one time, and he had opened up to me and just like said, I don't know, it just came up, and like how it came to be, or like what his life was like. And that to me, it's like, if I really wanted to like get someone out of what I wanted to get them out of, I wouldn't just be like, screw you. Like, I would listen to their story. I would try to get to the core of what happened or how they feel, because I don't really know about it. I don't know like what it's like to grow up and be a teenager and like that. Like, it's not my thing. So I don't know. I'm more of like a listener. And if I really wanted to help somebody, I'd listen to their full story, listen to how they feel, and be respectful about it, but push back when I disagree. That's my style with anybody. I'm not like a screw you, you're not that. I don't know what you are, but I don't have to agree with everything you do. Like, if Caitlyn Jenner if Caitlyn Jenner says trans people shouldn't play sports, but I should play golf tournaments and women's trans golfers should play in the LGBT, I'm not a transphobe if I disagree with that. Like, how, they call Caitlyn Jenner a transphobe because Caitlyn Jenner on one day says trans men shouldn't be playing sports or whatever, and people are like, she's a trans. How is a transgendered a transphobe? Like, what? It's like everything's hateful nowadays. Like, you can't even say the sky's blue. It's racist or something. It's like, I don't feel like arguing. Someone said he was probably trying to groom you into it. Not at all. Not at all. This friend that I had a conversation with was not flirty or rude or pushy. Not at all. Just somebody that trusted me. I'm not going to tell their story publicly or even say who it is. Nobody knows here, but no, they weren't. It's not like every gay guy's out grabbing your dick or something. Like, there are people like that are too pushy, but yeah, no, this person was not like that at all. Like, I'm not saying everyone's doing it. Some people just have a story to tell, and it's like this. I don't know. This is how I came, and it's like, I'm here now. It wasn't like aggressive in any sort of way. And it wasn't really my place. I didn't really, at the time, I didn't really have much to add or push back on. It's like, okay, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not your pastor. I'm not your father. I'm not your life coach. If someone asks and they want my opinion, I'll tell them. But in my real life, I'm not running around policing everybody. Like I said, because I just don't feel, if I have a wife and 10 kids and we live in a perfect house, and, then maybe I'll go around and be like, all right, let me tell you losers how to live your life. But until then, I'm not that old. You know what I'm saying? I've worked hard in my life. I've made mistakes. I've made good decisions, made bad decisions. Everything happens for a reason. I'm in a pretty solid position, so I'm not mad at it. I don't feel responsible to tell everyone how to do it. But if I see my political party moving further left than I was in 17 and calling it hate speech when you disagree, I'm not going to pretend like it's cool. And I know David Leatherwood, and I saw Caitlyn Jenner respond and be like, that's not what you said to me. It's like, now Caitlyn Jenner's running around policing conservatives. Like, a gay person leaves Gays Against Groomers, and Caitlyn Jenner's like, that's not enough. You need to do more. It's like, relax, person. You know what I'm saying? Relax. Like, you're not the police of Republic. Like now all of a sudden, you're the queen of Republican politics, and everybody has to bow down for you. Every gay Republican needs to do exactly what you want them to do. It's like, chill out. It's like disgusting behavior. It's like very entitled, very egotistic. It's just like creepy. I'm like looking at all this stuff go down. Oh my gosh. It's like, what in the world? What world am I in? How did I get here? How did this happen? A lot of tricks were done. I think one way that they condition people, it's like the old Pavlov's dog experiment. I've explained it before, but for those who don't know, it's one of like the classic psychological experiments that you learn in psychology classes. But they give a dog a stimuli or whatever, ring a bell, give it food, ring a bell, give it food, ring a bell. And then there's no food and they ring a bell and the dog salivates. He's been conditioned to think bell means food, bell means food. And it's programming, it's mind control. It's like, do it enough times and anybody will think anything. To me, I feel like they did that with Donald Trump. I know people are going to cry about it. Wah, 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 wah. But that's the truth. I can't lie to you. I'm not paid by either campaign. I'm not an idiot. I really think that Trump gave people what they want. He said what they wanted to hear. He gave them what they want. And then eventually he didn't. And people can't detach from who they think Trump is and who he really is, or what he did and who he is now. It's the Pavlov's dog experiment. They gave you what you wanted for 3-4 years, took away the food, and everyone's acting like it's still there, and it's not there, and it's worse than it's ever been. And I feel like they're running a controlled demolition on the party. And, a lot of things that I found out in hindsight, I realized that Trump actually wasn't telling the truth about some things, not all things. Like, he's one of the things that made him very, very appealing to everybody and helped him win the election was the fact that he said he doesn't need money. It's a really good line. It's just not true. And it makes sense. Like, I'm a billionaire. I don't need their money. The reason I'm going to be better than everyone else, I don't need Jeb Bush's money. I don't need Hillary Clinton's money. I don't need corporate donors. At one point on his campaign, he said a corporate donor tried to give him money and he rejected it. Trump was the man. I'm like, dude, he's so rich. He doesn't need anyone's money. And that's going to make him the best politician because he can't be bribed. That's what he said. But most of his supporters don't even realize it's actually factually not true. Trump actually took donor money from a donor he said was going to control Marco Rubio, Sheldon Adelson. He wasn't planning on taking Sheldon Adelson's money, but he did. He took tens of millions of dollars, if not more, from Sheldon Adelson. Trump said he'd never take their money. He took so much corporate donation, inauguration bribes that he eclipsed Obama's record. Trump took more corporate donations from people like Pfizer, Bank of America. They all give $1 million little bribes. Trump took more corporate money than Obama did for his inauguration. Like, he broke a record for taking money from mega corporations. So the whole shtick that Trump brainwashed his base with, that he doesn't need their money, he's so rich, that was not true. He said that, but then he did the opposite. And you start diving in all this stuff, and you're like, he said he drained the swamp, but then he hired him. He used to be against Big Pharma, and now he's for him. He put in a lobbyist, and now he acts like he doesn't know what he used to know. Like, Trump is like a master magician. He's a genius at marketing. He could do the opposite of what he says, and people still think he did it. I talked to a friend recently, and he told me that he met somebody that thinks that, he trusts QAnon and that JFK Jr. is alive and, running the show, like whatever. And it's like, dude, the sad part is there's millions of people like this, and they can't rationalize what Trump's doing because it's not quite what they thought it was. So they've literally mind controlled themselves with this idea that there's a secret thing going on that they can't see, and that people that are dead are alive and have time machines. And it's like, that's how bad he got, that they can't even point to real things that exist to defend it. So their favorite thing about Donald Trump is the fact that they believe in a script that's not even real to trick themselves. And I show people this. I'm going to do a better segment on it at a certain point. This book is from the 1900s called New Lies for the Old by Antony Golitsyn. And the entire Q narrative is a controlled opposition communist scheme from the 1900s. This book was written, I believe, in the 1920s, and they had something called Operation Trust. The communists said Operation Trust, and they told all the patriots and conservatives and people that were anti-communist, they told them not to do anything and don't worry and to trust the plan, because there were generals cleaning up the communists from behind the scenes. And they used generals that conservatives liked at the time, and the generals flipped to the communists. So they used these generals that everybody trusted, said these generals are going to fix communism, but they were really working with the communists. They told people literally, trust the plan. That general, does that sound familiar? It's the same exact thing as QAnon. It's the same thing. And you go to a party and someone's like, I like Trump. That's fine. Why? For his foreign policy? No, dude, I believe in the plan. What plan? Dude, the government's cleaning itself out behind the scenes. How? The generals, dude. Trump's really the secret president, dude. He's still in power. No, he's not. If Trump's in power, why is the country doing so bad? Well, the generals are, it's like, bro, it's the same. It's the same exact thing. It's a Bolshevik controlled opposition scheme to neutralize the people that would normally be against it. It's so obvious. It's great. But there's millions of people that still believe that, including probably 50 people watching this stream that are like, oh my gosh, anomaly. Who told you to say that? No one. I read books. I study. It's like someone said, trust the plan, Lindsey Graham, my man. I mean, dude, Trump literally said that he would campaign for Lindsey Graham at his last rally. He's like, I got to come back here and campaign for this guy. It's like, he's going to get Lindsey Graham elected again. He could easily primary Lindsey Graham. He could run anybody to run against Lindsey Graham, win by 30 votes. He doesn't want to. Trump knows he's got everyone wrapped around his finger. And then people will be like, well, why do you talk about this so much? Why do you talk about it? I'm like, well, let me think. Why do I talk about it so much? Well, I do news analysis and political analysis. And I talked about Trump most of the time for 4 years, but it never bothered you that I talked about Trump so much, as long as I was saying what you wanted to hear. So I know you don't actually want me to not talk about it, because that's what I did for a long time. But anyway, also, he's not a nobody. It's not like, oh, why do you talk about this guy? He's just trying to play golf at Mar-a-Lago. Guys, he's the front runner for the Republican Party, and the entire opposition is essentially controlled to the point where there's going to be, like, you're going to get some judges or something, but at the end of the day, if he loses the election to Joe Biden, you get nothing. You know what I'm saying? If he loses the election to Joe Biden, he's never going to admit flaw. He's never going to admit a single mistake. He's never going to admit a single shortcoming. He's just going to run you off a cliff with the same tired narrative he had in 2020 without actually solving the problems. If you're going to talk about the election, you got to fix it. If you talk about it and don't fix it, you're just inspiring people not to care, but only care about you. Like, the whole thing is just like an obvious scheme to just destroy everything everyone's worked so hard to build. And I think it comes out of like selfishness. If you think you're George Washington, if you like yourself more than you like the country, if you don't believe in God, he'll pretend like he does. But you could find an interview from 2016 when he ran for office. They asked him, Trump, have you ever asked God for forgiveness? And he went on this huge rant. And then the guy said again, Trump, you didn't answer the question. Have you ever asked God for forgiveness? And Trump said, I've never asked God for forgiveness. I don't think about God that way. That's not how I think about God. I just do better. I don't ask God for forgiveness. And it's like, ask most pastors, or, I'm not trying to gatekeep Christianity, but it's like, can you even be Christian if you don't ask God for forgiveness? The entire religion is based around asking God for forgiveness, realizing that you're not on the level of God, asking him for forgiveness. It's the whole religion. The whole religion's based on that. I would say 99 out of 100 pastors will tell you, you can't even be a Christian if you don't ask God for forgiveness, because that's like one of the core tenets of it. You have to put yourself below God and show him that you do need his forgiveness and ask for it. So he thinks he's God. He thinks he's above God. He's not religious. He just pretends to be. He's not like, whatever. I'm not gatekeeping the whole thing, but you can't. No, I've never thought. You've never thought it. How have you never thought of that? It's like the whole thing. Am I God? Not even close. Not even close. I'm a human being. I have flaws. I've sinned. And I realize that there's something bigger out there. And I pray for forgiveness. I pray for health. I pray for something above me to help me, because I understand that I'm not the creator of the universe or even close. You know what I'm saying? Me on my best day, I'm not even 1/1,000,000th of the way there. I think everyone understands that. Someone said forgiveness for what? What do you mean? I mean, I don't know. I guess you could just not, you could just say, I believe in God, but like, whatever, I guess it's like, or you could pray and be like, I'm a changed man. I work hard. I'm not perfect, but thank you for protecting me. You don't have to like directly ask for it, but I think everybody understands that they hope that they are forgiven. And, I don't know. I mean, whatever, you could think what you want, but that's my opinion. I'll read one or two more. Someone said Newsmax is not on the conservative side. I don't watch it enough to know. I think they're somewhat conservative. I'm deserving, and I'm going to take off because I don't want this to last too long. But to me, the left is pushing towards communism and totalitarian tyranny. And the right just gatekeeps the slippery slope. Every time they get office, they make government bigger. They raise the deficit. Last time they locked down for 30 days, they did 15 days to slow the spread. They extended it. Trump told Sweden they should have locked down, and Georgia should have stayed locked down. Trump is not innocent. He printed more money than Obama printed. He sold vaccines harder and longer than Bill Gates. Bill Gates is like over COVID vaccines now. You don't even hear Bill Gates talk about COVID vaccines. Bill Gates is like on to the next thing. He's like, we need another vaccine. There's problems with this one. I got other stuff I'm invested in. In 2023, Trump sells the COVID vaccine harder than Bill Gates because it's his baby, because he used socialism to fund it to the masses. And he loves it and doesn't understand science, or is so into himself that he doesn't care. And that's not a red flag for your movement. You're running circles around the guy hawking COVID vaccines harder than Bill Gates when like 90% of the population doesn't even care anymore? Nobody cares. Liberals don't care. Conservatives don't care. It's not going to pick them up one vote. You know, I'm listening to liberals that were all for it a year ago say that they think they got scammed and it's all BS, like Michael Bisping, and that's your guy, and you're not going to question it at all. It's hate speech to mention what I'm mentioning. Dude, the whole movement's controlled opposition. In every way, they're further left than Democrats were 10 years ago. And now they're starting to pull out the, oh, you hate this and you're anti this and you're against all the movements if you don't want to celebrate Pride, which no Christian should celebrate Pride of anything for a month. You know, but now because Trump's campaign says so, it's like, it's such a joke. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm at peace with it. I think that it is what it is. I hope Republicans win the next election. I like to believe that it's possible because Joe Biden is so pathetic. But personally, I do believe that Republicans deserve to lose the next election. I'm not one of these people that'll, I should change my tune because it's way more profitable to just tell people like the Democrats stole all 50 states and 60 million votes. And if you give me all your money, I'll sell books about it. And, you know, we'll go watch the Mike Lindell thing. Like there's more money in that. I should just do that. I should just do all that. But the truth is like, you know, and they'll be like, you're the victim. If you buy my book, you're the victim. If you don't question me, you're a victim. And if you never look at how our party scammed you also and set you up multiple times, then you're the victim. Like, I should just do that. But my true belief, it's way less popular and way less profitable. It's like, we're not the victim. If we don't get the results we want in the next election, we probably deserve it. You know what I'm saying? All these things that happened in 2020 and after that, we deserve it because we've ignored big pharma tyranny for 30 years. You ignore something for 30 years, you're going to get that. We don't not deserve that. We absolutely deserve it. When they took all our stuff away, a lot of Republicans were okay with just playing along for a little bit. Well, I'll wear my mask. It's like, I wish I could sit here and be like, we didn't deserve any of that. And Trump deserved to win and we're the victim and Republicans are going to win. And it's like, I feel like all this is happening for a reason. I'm not pessimistic, but if we want to win, we got to act like it. We got to act smarter. We got to act wiser. We have to be able to challenge our own side without acting insane. You know, Trump and DeSantis, I don't care. Go ahead, fight over policy, fight over whatever. Talk about his boots and how he's small and he uses little lifty boots and his wife dresses up too much. Whatever criticism you have, I don't care. But at the end of the day, the people that are acting crazy over this election, no one's making them act that way. It's not like, oh, DeSantis ran and made me go insane. You're going insane. You know, this is inside of us. You know, we can't act like Trump made me do this. Trump didn't make me do anything. I did. You know, if I make a mistake, I made a mistake. If I get it wrong or I go too hard at Trump and it hurts your feeling, the last thing I'm going to do is blame Trump. Like, I mean, if you don't like what I'm saying, I believe what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying it. But it's like, I'm doing it. I'm a man. I'm responsible for my words, my actions. Now the Republican Party is like a victim party, gatekeeping, like Caitlyn Jenner, the architect of the slippery slope on this topic. Not saying you got to hate her. It's just like, it's just kind of all crazy to me. Now I'm just watching on Twitter every day, Caitlyn going after people. And it's like, geez, like, is this the MAGA movement now? Rick Grinnell and Caitlyn Jenner freaking out at everybody because someone ran an ad criticizing the rainbow flag. Like, I don't know. Rainbows are cool in nature, but I don't care about a rainbow flag. Like, the left puts it up at an embassy and then the right cries homophobia when you don't want to celebrate it for a month. And Ronna Romney McDaniel's waving it. And it's like, I'm like, what? Like, do I need to find another thing to do? I don't, it's pretty crazy. I don't know. And then it's like, yeah, this is who we are now. It's like, it is. I don't want to be called hateful for not wanting to do that, but that's how I feel. Let me know what you think. God bless you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Once again, I just want to be clear because this is going to get skewed out of context a million times. I'm not hateful. I don't care what people do necessarily. I'm focused on myself. However, I do have a perspective on where the party's going and where the country's going. And I think if we want to win the election, if we want to win the future, we have to stop playing the victim. We have to stop idol worshiping. We have to stop gatekeeping the slippery slope. And we have to stop being so lazy. I hate saying this because then I feel bad and I'm like, oh, you're a dick. Like, sometimes I get off this live stream and I'm like, Anomaly, you're a dick. Why'd you say that? But I really believe that, no offense, a lot of people, They want to live vicariously through Trump because it's just like easier than our country has like 100 problems, right? But also, hey, it's 4th of July, 5th of July. America's beautiful. America's one of the best nations in the world in human history. I still love it. It's still great. We're still blessed. I'm still grateful. People all over the world still want to come here. Immigrants like the country more than people born here. We love America. It's still a great country. We're not giving it up. Let's be grateful. But on that note, also, you have to understand there are a lot of things going wrong and in the wrong direction, and we all see it. So it's like, are we going to do something and play our role and really push it back in the right direction? Or are we just going to run circles around a guy because that's easier to do than identifying that some things aren't going to change? That's kind of how I see what's going on. That's my take. Let me know yours. God bless you guys. I'll be back soon. It's been the Dream Rare Podcast. Thanks for hanging out. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, Stay Blessed long sleeve, God is Great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk for $5 a month. You can help support me, support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work with very many sponsors, sometimes none at all. And part of the way I'm able to do that is with the dreamrare.com shop and patreon.com/raretalk. So thank you guys for keeping this show free, unimpeded, uninterrupted. I'm forever grateful. My free email list is stayintouchwithme.com. So check the links below in the description or just type in on any browser, stayintouchwithme.com, all one word. You'll find my email list, put it in there, and it's the least annoying email list you'll ever be on. I barely use it because I don't like getting emailed every day or every week. It's annoying. So I don't do it. Stayintouchwithme.com. It helps me take back some power away from big tech. Telegram, t.me/dreamrarechat or @dreamrarechat. Due to censorship, I post all my live stream and videos there. Sometimes I have some bonus content, and I try to give people a heads up when Facebook or YouTube won't. Dream Rare Chat at Telegram. My Instagram is @dreamrare. Thanks for everybody following there for shorter content. And dreamrarelinks.com, that's dreamrarelinks.com, has all my stuff. My podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, my music on Spotify and Apple, my Rumble page, my BitChute and Gab page. All my links are found at dreamrarelinks.com. Thanks for watching, folks. God bless you. You already know I'll be back with more content soon.